Hello students! In our previous video, we learned about structure of flower. We saw that flower is a reproductive organ for sexually reproducing plants. It has four whorls, namely calyx, corolla, androecium and gynoecium. Out of these four whorls, two, calyx and corolla, are accessory whorls or non-essential whorls, since they help in reproduction. They are not involved directly in the process of reproduction. And inner two whorls, androecium and gynoecium, are essential whorls, as they take part in reproduction directly, since they bear reproductive parts of plants. As we told you, stamens and carpels are reproductive parts of a flower that contain gametes, correctly called as germ cells. Observe the flower on your screen. This whorl containing many stamens is called androecium. Now look at each stamen. We find that it is made up of stalk called the filament and a small bag-like structure called anther at the tip. So what does this bag-like structure consist of? Correct. Male gametes or male germ cells called as pollen grains. Now dust the pollen grains on a slide and observe them under a microscope. What is its structure? Pollen grains are usually spherical. It has two-layered wall. The hard outer layer is known as exine. It has prominent apertures called germ pores, and the inner thin layer is known as intine. It is a continuous layer made up of cellulose and pectin. Matured pollen grains contain two cells, the vegetative cell and the generative cell. The generative cell divides mitotically to form two male gametes when they reach near the ovary of the flower. This vegetative cell provides nutrition to the generative cell, and this inner layer, intine, comes out through the germ pore as pollen tube, which then enters ovary for fertilization. These gametes, or we can say generative cells, fertilize ova in the ovaries of the plant and gives rise to seed and fruit, which further develop into plants, thus producing new plant from the existing one. Now let us see gynoecium. The gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and is made up of carpel. A flower can have one or more carpels. If there are many carpels, they can be either separate or can be fused together. As told, on the whole, all reproductive structures form gynoecium. A carpel is present in the center of the flower and is made up of three structures: ovary, style, and stigma. The first part is stigma. It is sticky disc-like structure. Pollen grains which fall on the plant after pollination sticks on this disc and grows into pollen tube. The next part is the middle tube-like elongated, the style. It is just a passage for pollen tube which grows till the ovary. Ovary is the last swollen structure of gynoecium or pistil. It contains one or many chambers called as locules. The locules contain many small structures called as ovules, which are connected to the walls of ovary with minute connections called as placenta. During fruit formation, the ovary matures in fruit and ovules in seeds. Students, note here that there is one ovary in every flower, but inside one ovary there can be many ovules, as you can see here on a screen. Each ovule is a future seed. So we can say that ovary with one ovule will have fruit with one seed, like mango, avocado, cherry, plums, etc. You can see they have one seed inside them, while ovary with many ovules will have fruit with many seeds like tomato, lemon, dragon fruit, watermelon, etc. You can see there are many seeds within one fruit. Now let us dig inside one ovule. It is a complex structure in itself. It consists of main part called the nucellus and the embryo sac consisting of female gamete or female germ cell called an egg cell and other cells. Nucellus is covered by two outer layers, leaving an opening called a micropyle. This is the region from which pollen tube enters the ovary. Apart from the nucellus, there is a region called as embryo sac. It contains 7 cells, out of which 3 cells at the micropylar end are called the egg apparatus. In the egg apparatus, one is the egg cell or female gamete or female germ cell, and the remaining 2 cells are synergids. And these 3 cells at the opposite end are called the antipodal cells. The remaining one in the middle, as you can see here, has 2 distinct nuclei within it and thus called as polar nuclei. So students, this is the detailed structure of anther and filament or androecium and gynoecium whorl in the flowers of plants. We know that process of sexual reproduction in flowering plants involves pollination and fertilization. We will see them in our next video.